So with that, I'm going to introduce our illustrious host, Valois Vera, who, if you have not had the pleasure of meeting him, is a disability justice activist, organizer, educator, and poet based out of Denton, Texas. Originally from Chicago, his leadership on several coalitions and organizations focused on disability culture, identity, and equity is well noted. Their knowledge of and experience with disability justice and culture has garnered many speaking opportunities, including at the University of North Texas, Fordham University, Azusa Pacific University, and Deep Vellum Publishing. While his journalism work can be found in New Mobility Magazine, Latino Rebels, and Rooted in Rights, their poetry has been published by the National Coalition for Latinx with Disabilities and Molly House. Val's debut book, Crip Lyrics, The Unapologetic Poetry of Disability by Poor Press, is a beautifully illustrated collection of unflinching cultural liberation verses guided by lived experience and self-reflection. And I'll put his links in the chat where you can get a copy of that. Val.
Thank you. Welcome, fellow creatives, artists, orators, and scribes. Tonight, we feast. We fill our souls with fresh fruits from the towering trees of our orchards of poetry. We fill our body-minds with intoxicating, carefully curated, sweet wines carved from the vineyards of our verses. We fill the arena with a bouquet of perfumed imagery, density, rhythmic melody, majestically an aromatic festivity of truth, power, and identity. Tonight, we feast, for we have been deemed peasants and denied a basic human dignity for much too long. We feast, for we have been stripped of basic human rights for much too long. We feast, for we have been muted, mocked, minimized, marginalized, much, much too long. The hue of our skin, brilliant in its various shades of tradition, heritage, and values, is weaponized by eyes who see no value. The tone of our tongue, singing songs of generational tales and love language, is weaponized by ears who hear no love. The expression of who we are, who we interlock fingers with, who we embrace and commit our lives to, who or what we identify as, is weaponized by sanctimonious hatred and violence. Love is love, is love, is love, is love, is love, is love, is love. And tonight, we feast on love. With window-shaped scars our face pressed against to look inside no more, we feast on love with tragedy's trails embedded our nightmare-laced memory no more. We feast on love with righteous anger pouring our God-placed universe no more. And to those who bear witness, let it be said that this feast, this orgy of poetic promiscuity gave birth to a revival, the Renaissance. Let it be written that this feast, this festival of visceral verse, sowed the very first of many seeds of symphony. And let it be known that this feast, this sanctuary of revolution and revelry, was shaken by our voices of thunder and our brilliance of lightning. Welcome, everyone. I'm Valois, and it's a pleasure to host this event tonight. I am a medium brown, skin Latino with short dark hair, glasses, and a salt and pepper beard. And behind me is a white wall and some blinds. It's a great honor to be here and to share the virtual stage with some really remarkable poets. You're really in for a treat. Before we get started, some basic housekeeping. First and foremost, know that some of the poetry tonight may contain adult language or themes of trauma or oppression, so I wanted to provide a content warning. Also, please be comfortable and practice self-care. Feel free to turn off your camera, lay down, sit down, eat, drink, walk away from the camera if you need to. However you want to navigate your space, please do so. This space, this event tonight, is really designed to support and uplift and amplify one another. That said, we do ask that everyone keep their microphones muted throughout the duration of the event. However, we strongly encourage everyone to show support for all the poets. So while you're muted, if you're able to snap your fingers, clap your hands, or even use the reaction buttons at the bottom of your screen, please do so. And please use the chat with words of affirmation, cheers, hoorays, and all those wonderful things. Also in the chat, most of the poets, I believe all the poets, will have information on there, their socials, contact, publication links, pay links, etc. And yes, here at Thunder and Lightning, tipping is completely acceptable. It's not required by any means, but if a certain poet inspires you to do so, please feel free to show them some love in that way. And of course, use their social media platforms to amplify their work, connect with them, say hi, all that good stuff. I believe that's it. So let's get on with the show, shall we? And I just lost my place on my script. Look at that. Here we go. So our first poet of the evening is a London-based writer and performer. They were recently crowned Disabled and Queer Artist of the Year. They are the host of A.G. Parker's Cabinet of Curiosities podcast and co-host of Rebel Riot Poetry. Their work appears in Dyslexia, The F Word, FT Weekend, and more. And their novel, Twisted Roots, is on Kindle. Joining us from across the pond, where it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, please welcome George Parker.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely intro. And yes, it's 10 to 2 in the morning, so excuse me if I'm not at my peak right now. Image description: I am a white non-binary person who looks pretty femme. In the background there's a wicker. Is that wicker? Like a wicker folding screen thing. And there's a fake pot plant, and I could have probably blagged that was a real pot plant, but it's a fake pot plant. So I've got 2 poems for you tonight. First one is a completely new poem, and I just thought I'd share because it's kind of working through some stuff with gender identity and the patriarchy, which is all the fun stuff. And it hasn't got a title yet, so if you think of one, please don't tell me. When I was young, I was so macho, hoping machismo would keep me safe, turn bravado to brave, that eventually I'd start showing up, not just saving face. It took me a while to realize days had drifted by and I still hadn't landed a single one, feeling like I was the only one that didn't fit. No dick and tits not big enough to satisfy society's expectations. So I disengaged, found new ways to punish my body, flog the feminine out of me, chastise the curves for not being curvy enough, and my heart for not being hard enough, because hardness and armor are to be looked at with admiration. They said, open up, but what they meant was, hand me the means by which I can pry your ribcage open, analyze the raw insides, place shards of your intimacy on the scales and find them wanting. I am wanting. I want another go. This time, I promise myself, I'll show. So that is the first poem for you. This poem is a poem I've been doing since about halfway through the pandemic, and which I think I'm going to stop doing because I keep delivering it to rooms full of very sympathetic, non-disabled people who don't actually change any of the way that they go about doing things, and it's getting quite depressing because the way this country has handled the pandemic has not been very healthy. Content warning for systemic oppression, ableism, racism, sexual assault, eugenics. This is casual eugenics. I'm sure when you talked about herd immunity, you didn't necessarily have me in mind. I'm sure when this country was debating the fate of this nation, deciding which of the population had enough worth to be kept alive, you didn't specifically think of me or my disability. Still, it hurt watching you weigh up all the pros and cons, slamming protests, protecting statues of bronze in the economy while sacrificing thousands casually. You really didn't think of me or the others who needed you. These times of desperation are not the finest of the nation. They show how many of us, when afraid, will begin a small flirtation with damnation, saying, "It's fine, God, let them die. Just please not me or my relations." We were the collateral damage for your pilgrimage to the beach, but even the corresponding peak in death didn't teach you anything. Another week and there's another image. You like 1,000 grains of sand, you jammed into bars like red ripe fruit in a jar, pint in hand. These times of desperation show ours to be a callous nation, brazen with determination to go on vacation, faces impatient as you yell, "It's fine, God, let them die, but I deserve this occasion for me and my relations." And I hasten to add, we paid the price for you ignoring sage advice. I'm not pointing fingers, but as someone whose disability tends to wear a cloak of invisibility, I've heard it all, what you think of me and others like me. Or maybe it wasn't you I heard. Maybe you were one of those who stayed quiet, compliant, complicit with the explicit plan to let disabled people take the brunt of this pandemic. Don't tell me that's not eugenics. 97,000 of us lost a battle we were never meant to win in a flutter of papers that prodded readers like cattle into believing that herd immunity was for the best, with no thought of our community, us who you deem unfit for page 3 society or equality anyway. It's easy to shout over those who couldn't even come out of their homes and protest, and perhaps that's best because I saw you there blaming protests for deaths, making scapegoats of those who wanted to escape white supremacy and rape. Protests didn't kill 170,000. Sure, there was crowded, but people spouting this nonsense just use it for their own astounding agenda. Well, here's a fact. Disabled people made up 60% of deaths in this pandemic. Don't tell me that's not eugenics. What killed them was a trident of a lack of compassion, greed, ableism, capitalism wielded by the establishment. It's indefensible, the death preventable, but our government stood there and said it's acceptable that we were expendable, and you just went along with it. Society was never accessible, but now with 97,000 of us dead to a battle we couldn't hope to win, you have the chance to begin again. Include us. These times of desperation could inspire the transformation of this, our fractured nation. We just need a new equation, one without alienation or otherness, but with something more profound than tolerance. And it starts with you, my audience. Now's the time for innovation. Equitable representation in politics would lead to unbiased legislation, embracing all the variations of the disabled population. Give us invitations to places we can actually travel to and accessible stations. Keep streaming shows to remote locations. Choose event destinations with consideration of integration, and always proper communication to enable education for all. These adaptations are declarations of equality, such simple affirmations of our belonging in society, and with them, you'd see, we're just like you and your relations, deserving of life and all the wonders of creation. Thank you.
That was beautiful, George. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful work. I had the pleasure of doing an open mic for George's Rebel Riot Poetry. That was a lot of fun. Please show George some love in the chat. Follow them on the socials. If you're inclined to tip, feel free to tip, because we like tipping here, don't we? So we'll bring on our next presenter. He is a 31-year-old disabled person of color, born in Guayama, Puerto Rico, and raised in Rochester, New York. He is an activist, a writer, spiritual seeker, and a poet. Let's give a warm welcome to Jensen Caraballo.
Hello, thank you. Thank you. Image description. I have on a blue t-shirt. I have glasses on my face. I have short black hair, and I have a blurry background. And I'm just gonna start off with my poem. Give me 1 second. The name of this poem is called I Am Strong. I can barely lift my arms or even touch my nose. I can barely feed myself or even lift a rose. Though I may be weak, I am strong. I was born into a world not made for people like me. I was born into a world where freedom isn't free. Though I may be weak, I am strong. I sit in this chair like you stand on your feet. I sit in this chair with pride in my feet. Though I may be weak, I am strong. I lived in a hospital for 6 long years. I lived in a hospital with so many fears. Though I may be weak, I am strong. I fought for my freedom. I fought for my rights. I fought for my independence with all of my might. Though I may look weak, I am strong. I am strong. I am not weak. I am not sick. I am not broken. I do not need to be fixed. I am just different, but a human like you. You will not exploit me. You will not pray for me to be normal. You will not treat me like a baby, but you will respect me. I am a man. I am disabled. I am a crippled. I am a gimp. I am Jensen. But most importantly, I am strong. Thank you.
Awesome, Jensen. Thank you very much for sharing. Feel free to follow Jensen on his socials. Show him some love. That was some good stuff there. Our next poet is a queer disabled poet with a background and interest in activism, seismology, hydrology, and research, design, and communication. She has been living with chronic fatigue syndrome and endometriosis since 2012 and is further disabled by long COVID since March of 2020. She began writing poems in the fall of 2021 after attending a virtual workshop with the Writers Guild Initiative and finding friends to write with. Lost her place again. Sorry, guys. She also wishes to help form local communities of all at-risk individuals in order to achieve safe housing and socializing in the pandemic. Joining us from Baltimore, Maryland, please welcome Jay Lamoureux.
Hello, thank you. My name's Jay. Image description. I am a androgynous female presenting person, short, dark hair, wearing a gray sweater with a white background behind me, seated. Here's the first poem. Loving a bad person. Loving a bad person is a dangerous and painful thing to do. And yes, it is possible, and yes, they exist and are lovable. They will choose themselves. They will choose momentary comfort, choose an easier lie over truth to themselves, to you. They will woo you with an open-mouthed laughter, with honey in their voice, crying tears of love from vacant eyes. They might even try to end it in the beginning, confess their premeditated guilt in the shine of your pure intent. If they are good enough to warn you that they are rotten inside, remember, this is not a test. Remember to go ahead and believe them. If they have resigned to the perpetual effects of their irresponsibility, to the cascade of events of their hand washing, if they are really bad, they will tell you they warned you that they are a failed person. They will remind you you had agreed to love them anyway, that leaving them now will hurt one who is suffering already so much under the weight of regret. Chipmunk Cheeks. Acorns stashed in chipmunk cheeks, like roses are for poets, but they wilt on the bush or go sour stored too long, even in preserving cold. Each moment, a glass peered through, reach around to touch before it's gone. Sometimes I get caught and find I've taken too long. The patient's mission, sometimes a fool's errand. But worrying too eats your time. Stolen away what could have been. And here's one more, called Familiar. Are we enemies, standing each in the cool creek bed? I, for one, remember the glimmer of childhood, and my inner voice whispers, you were the same then. Fear wrapped around you, a soft blanket of easy movements, backhanded comments before you knew the real use of them. Or we can go further back, animal sense, tasting the brood's flight in an embryonic sac, the first alignments, the dawn of a heartbeat. No, too far. Somewhere after the material you and me began, when things became complex, but not yet complicated. It's a breath before breathing, the breath mark on the page. Oh, I've startled you now, camping in tall grasses, busying yourself with practicals. The you in me is a dynamic other. I fear it as an unexpected wave, as being upwind from an animal. Still, we dock, root, or bed down safely. We overcome our mutual breathlessness, somehow together. Our whole becoming is unwound in the will of a day. A sun creep across the sky, the way you thought of things as for the very, very first time. The rosebud plump with miles and years of laughing meaning. Everything received, everything receiving. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Jade. Those were wonderful. Overcoming our mutual breathlessness. I love that. Thank you very much. Please follow Jay on her socials. Show her some love. That was wonderful. Our next performer, and I'm not sure if they are here. Charisse, are you here? I got a message saying that you're not here yet. I'll give you a moment. If not, we can come back. Okay, we'll go on to the next poet. Next on the virtual stage is the author of 3 volumes of verse, Ascension from the Ashes, Cinders Rekindled and Embers Among the Ashes, poems in a haiku manner. His poetry has been published in various anthologies, including Trouble the Water, In the Tradition, Step into a World, Roll Call, Soul Fires, Fertile Ground, and Bum Rush the Page, the Def Jam Poetry Anthology. In addition, his poems have appeared in numerous literary publications, including African American Review, Cutbanks, Drum Voices Review, The Black Nation, the Langston Hughes Review, and Spectre Magazine, just to name a few. Please welcome Charlie Braxton.
Thank you. Visual description. I am a African American male, chocolate brown complexion. I have glasses. I'm wearing a brown shirt. In the background, there is a stack of CDs in a bookcase. The first poem that I, content warning, there is some bad language and it will be dealing with racism and police brutality. The poem is called Blues Eulogy for Black Bodies. Dark clouds, marshmallow thick, hang low over city streets. Gotham sleeps while cops creep through dark alleys and ghetto thoroughfares, looking for suspects lurking in shadows of fear and death. Their souls trapped somewhere between the want for freedom and the need for justice. Despite all of the respectability politics our Negro politicians can fathom, remain caught in the nightmarish game, the great American pastime of watching crooked cops kill Black people in the holy name of God and country, law and order, and all that other Ringling Brothers shit. Caught on body cams that never seem to work when it comes to us getting justice as brown bodies bleed in the dead of a hot spring night. Another Black soul stolen by the state for the simple crime of walking home in the rain, playing in the park, riding in a car with their family, or just obeying the law by raising their hands toward heaven, hoping to Jesus they make it home and in one piece. Too many times our hopes go unrealized. Too many times our questions go unanswered. Too many times our prayers go unheard and our dreams go unfulfilled as we commit yet another corpse to this cold and virulent earth. The second poem that I will read is a short one. It's called The Task Ahead, and it's dedicated to a Mississippi poet named Virgil Brockshead. We must dream for the soul's sake of our children, live for their love and laughter, bask in the gentle and genuine tenderness of their innocent smiles, listen to the supple sounds of their collective voices as they boldly speak words to power, foretelling of changes to come. Okay. The next poem is, these are all short poems, I think most of them. We live in a constrict, a space, a place where there is more love for the wicked than there is rest for the weary. And yet we do sing, we do shout, we do chant. And when our tongues are tired with the pain that is tethered to the deep souls of our ancestors, We do hum, we do moan and groan our work songs that are as yet untitled. We do this black magic music to ensure that the circle remains unbroken and that the memories of our beloveds remain sacred and pure. Forgive me, I forgot to tell you the title. The title is called Songs That Are Sacred and Pure, and that is for Toni Morrison. All right. This next poem is called Fantastic Dreams, and it's dedicated to the French writer Jean-Pierre Labarthe and the poet Baudelaire. I forget his first name. Baudelaire called to me in a dream last night. He said he was still alive. After all those years of searching, he finally found himself dead to the world. Now, please, he said, don't go looking for me again. I didn't. Crazy how he can still call the tunes in my head, fast like a samba, slow like a bossa nova, or steady like a root rock and reggae, floating on a cottony clouds to cope in a senseless society. Do I stop making sense? I don't get around much anymore. I am old. My bones creak. My muscles and tendons tighten like a python around my joints. My hands are shaky when I grab my pen, but it's not over. I'm not over. I'm not done. Two more. Am I doing good on time, you guys?
I think you're good, Charlie.
Okay. This one's called Love Unalloyed. When in a sentimental mood, my friend, I could write you a love story so simple, so pure, so unadorned, yet so regal and complex that it would sing like a great poem set to even greater music made by an angelic choir, playing the most beautiful intergalactic ballads with saccharine tears of joy as though sweet baby Jesus himself was being born at this hour. And you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say that sometimes my eyes water at the moment some random memory of you wanders across my mind. I swear I miss you, but then again, you know that, like you know that old favorite song sung 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways, like me, the melody remains unalloyed. And my last poem is called Haiku for the Post-Civil Rights Generation. I am the harvest moon stealing light from the sky, robbing dark from night. I am the quarried stone standing in the corner waiting to be used. I am the spirit you seek in your prayers but never see. I am the motion of history moving ever forward, always changing things. I am the phantom hand you must hold on to till freedom is won. Thank you.
Whoa, thank you, Charlie. Those were awesome. And if you have a chance to check out one of Charlie's books, I recommend you do that. It's an incredible artist, incredible poet. Thanks again, Charlie. Our next poet, and after this one, we're going to take a 5-minute break. So we will hit an intermission point. But before then, our next poet is from Oakland. They are a white, physically and otherwise disabled, profoundly immunocompromised person with a special interest in plants. They are a radical Jewish, free Palestine agenda, gray ace and queer former sex worker. Their work is about existing as a traumatized, chronically ill mind-body, trying to find a way toward connection despite relational stuff being also scary. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Liv Grace.
Thank you, Val. I'll just give more of a description. I am sitting down. You can see part of my shirt, which says "Not getting well soon." And I have half black, half lavender hair. I am white. You can see my dog in the background and so many plants. I can post where to get this shirt also in the chat. Most of my poems do not have titles. I will say if there is one. As the heat creeps up the back again, my back, though I do not wish to claim it, I think about how shot can mean a thing to heal, prevent, and also kill, just like how a body is a vessel and a prison. What's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, I don't know. These days, I only start to consider pain when it makes me vomit. What does my scale mean to you? The scale, in all forms, is a tool of the oppressor. Announce your weight or do not see the doctor. Make yourself small or do not see the doctor. Don't make yourself too small or the doctor will not see you. The doctor will see you now. Gather all your parts on fire carefully so as not to burn the building down, and walk behind the nurse who asks, "What's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? My pain is a house fire. My pain is being eaten alive. My pain is childbirth over and over and over. I am doula and parent and child and water all at once. I am placenta and blood. I am God. God gave me birds for bones, and they have come home to roost. I bruise on the inside of my mouth, tongue blooded to teeth, gums rotted soft next to powder teeth. I am a diet flower that won't survive the winter. I am a love poem for people dying of feelings. I am a rare squid with arms in the shape of what used to be a person. But sometimes I am the claw of the magnolia drunk on its own scent who fears nothing. I'm a Cadillac with no doors and I fucking dare you to break in. I'm a paradise riot. I'm a boy pretending to be a lion, pretending to be a king. I am not body, but idea of body. I am the fear you have that beauty is not real, the voice who screams art is dead while you try to sleep. I am a poem you never wrote because the lights were turned off and you were high on communism. I am every burning cop car there ever was and ever will be, even when I cannot walk. This is entitled Brachiopia Insensilis. You weren't bad from the beginning, she used to say. You never cried as a baby. She inculcated me with the knowing that I could only survive invisible, insensilis, imperceptible, less a fly on the wall than the wall, less a mouth to feed than the bottle itself. What I mean to say when I am sad is actually I love you. I have meant to say that since the day we met, but I've been scared. Not of you really, but of everything else, of fucking up, of this ending. And that funny look I give you sideways in the car sometimes that you say you love is love, an unfamiliar consequence of being gentle with ourselves. Ragweed and lavender, then full moon view of the bay against California poppies. Driving the scenic route home through smallish redwoods feels like breathing slow, gray air and fog. I'm tired of running, and this feels like home. In the way a rhizome has many sides, a tuber shaped full, I find so much fullness in this as I turn it over. In other words, there is no emptiness here anymore. A wash and an afterglow, which is to say, some tea-like salve for loved, starved, fractured parts. I question back into kinder eyes with, how? Yet when fingers twice my size find the constant pain and somehow tender it away, I look again toward soft and happy eyes, and the dream makes sense. Like a turkey in the road, the absurd coincidence of beginnings is at once kismet and also liminal, as surprising as the leaves to the rhizome. And this is my last one. This may look like a sick bed, but we first said I love you here. I proposed in this bed, pillows between my legs. Your cheekbones, your whole face, a silhouette in electric lilac from the plant light across the room. This is a sick bed, which is to say it is a majesty, an absolute kingdom. This may look like a sick bed, but it is a home. It is where I give birth to you while you sleep, a death doula for your night terrors, my cheeks buried in your hair, my breath buried in your mouth. I watch you from this bed, still sick, though the bed is not, and wonder, if there is a God, why God it took so long to find you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. That's wonderful. I remember that last poem you posted on Twitter. Like, oh, that's so good. Yeah. So we are going to take a quick 5-minute break. Actually, if you want to unmute yourself and give an applause for our first half of performers. Thank you. A woo woo, a yay.
Woohoo!
Oh, so wonderful.
And the crowd went wild.
Exactly. So we're going to take 5 minutes. Feel free to take care of whatever you need to. We'll be right back. Let's get started with our second half of the show. Our next artist is an actor, writer, playwright, and performance poet living in Austin, Texas. She is blessed to work with her disabled friends at both Tilt Performance Group and Arts Park, Texas. She identifies as a dapper, butch, lesbian, disabled, chronic interfaith minister. Let's give a warm welcome to Miss Boy. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, to get the thing in the right page, I have to move the thing where the other thing was, and then it covered up the thing I needed to touch, you know. So, my name is Miss Boy. I'm a butch presenting crone. I'm a pink person with lots of freckles, and I have curly bangs and a shaved head, and I'm wearing a black beanie that says Tush, and a black t-shirt that has Butch in Diamante on the front. And my background is blurred. And I have round glasses. Okay. Content warning, one or other or some of these might be sexual. And the first one, I wish I could see her, but I can't read my words and see her at the same time. It'll be fun to watch the interpreter. Okay. So this poem is called Ingenium Surrender. The word engine is from the Latin ingenium, which means a natural disposition for or talent. Oh, beloved, I am not for sale. I am already owned by you. I am not a special offer. I am a designer brand. No, that's not right. I am a limited edition original, a ride for all occasions, a model in the parking lot of a 5-star hotel where the doorman's implicit crime is to lower his eyes as you walk by. Who could doubt your power? Power over me. Power that is complete. Power that sets me free. My freedom comes from your control. My freedom comes from surrendering, from knowing I am always safe in this place of ownership, this place of honor, this place of all of me. I trust your direction on this journey through unmapped territories. And as you engineer security, I garage my soul with safe words, parallel park my body, clamps and chains contain me, you wax, polish and buff me until my showroom shine earns your proud smile. Rolls-Royce relationship, top of the line, top of mine. I breathe the comfort of you. Ignore the ticking clock. Trust the gauge that says full. I want to please you. I want to know every facet of you, feel the purr of your engine, your pistons pumping, your shocks bumping, the slap of your brakes. I want to diagnose every leak, oil every creak, anticipate every gear shift, turn into every slide and drift. I want to fill myself with lube and swallow you whole, embrace the smooth flow of your unerring instincts. Oh, beloved, I am not for sale. I am already owned by you. Ingenium slave with a lifetime warranty. I did that one time, and somebody came up to my girlfriend and said, I didn't know Boy was so into cars. Okay, that's what it's about. So this next one, I just realized the order I put these in. That's an interesting order, Boy. Why did that happen? This one is called Shame is a Late Frost. I have been deep down shame alone. Stranger in the bed, second thought invitation alone. Separate, other, whole without a peg, left out in a roundabout way. I have known tears under the covers, clinging to the edge of a king-size mattress. Been the monk with the empty bowl, waiting for the last fig to drop. I have felt the fear of separation, confusion at the complications of social niceties, the wipe your boots on the mat, leave your shoes at the door, make eye contact but don't stare politeties. I wait until everyone is seated at the Thanksgiving table before lifting my fork. Say a silent invocation to my goddess, my beloved, beneath the reverberating fanfare in the name of his Jesus Christ. A declaration of exclusion masquerading as divine embrace. Secret differences, the shame of otherness, the fear of separateness hides under intellect, belligerence, ambivalence, and charm. Feeds overcompensation and underachievement. Unworthiness is an equal opportunity, invisible disability. Shame is a late frost, freezing hot, slamming the door on fingers of spring. It restricts root development, stunts growth, dulls and delays buds, flowers, and honest ripening. I might always be that weird kid, awkward, clumsy, odd enough to make nice people cringe. I might always be my own person, but not too much. Be brave, but not quite enough. Be a good girl until I'm not. Stuck in the winter of our discontent, we all have a million ways to recognize the other. A million ways to be other, to lord separation. Older, younger, richer, poorer, whiter, pinker, blacker, browner, taller, smarter, saner, sicker, smaller, sweeter, darker, lighter, cooler, hotter, thinner, fatter, normal, special, able, disabled, broken, fixed, right, wrong, worthy, worthless. When the excitement of spring rises, I wait for the melting earth to warm. The other in me bows to the other in you. I am willing to risk whatever it takes for the chance of connection. I am willing to risk what I need to risk for all of us to stay alive and grow. Okay, this is my last one. It's called Iconically Queer. And I wrote it after I went to an evening with a drag queen in London. I don't even know if she's still alive. Miss Betty Bond, who is an icon in the community there. Never aim for equality, my dear. It sets the bar of possibility way too low. You must relax into the art of being. Develop a life for yourself as if there were no praise and no blame, no diagnosis and no labels. Imagine who you would be without the judgments of others to contain you. To find your own style, strip yourself of everything except your true self. Then be boldly naked. Dress yourself consciously in your perfections and their expectations. You can be Shakespeare's fool, miming truth to an audience with 3D blindfolds. Because it isn't enough to be noticed. Be recognized. Recognized for what you are, how you are, who you are. Because you are a limited edition original. Your self is a gold embossed calling card to be thrust into the hands of an oncoming stranger. So don't aim for equality, darling. Aim for divine. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here.
That was awesome. Thank you, Miss Boyd. Check out Miss Boyd's social. Check out Art Spark, Texas, too. They do some incredible things, and I know Miss Boyd has a lot to do with that. Oh, that was awesome. Thank you. Our next performer is an indigenous Central American, two-spirit, queer, different-abled, multidisciplinary, creative, dedicated to highlighting injustices toward the QT BIPOC community. Their upbringing sparked their written work and visual art that has been featured in multiple zines, blogs, and anthologies. After earning a BA and MS in mental health focuses, they have led healing circles and various workshops on mental health awareness and injustices towards marginalized groups. They are a humble member of various local organizations and projects dedicated to empowering and enhancing our community. Welcome to the very virtual stage, Sweetco Zamorano Chavez.
Hey everyone, my name is Sweetco. Visual, I am wearing a black shirt with white polka dots and a black hat. My hair is pulled back, it's under the hat, you can't see, light skin, and my background is a galaxy, like a maroon galaxy kind of thing. So this first one is part of a collection that I'm doing called Volume 20. And they're experiences I've had, interactions with other people, my own personal reflections on the dumpster fire that was 2020 and continues to still burn. And this one is called Chapter 1, Gratitude. An acknowledgement page turned into a chapter dedicated to all the hidden figures, mi abuela with the angelic wings and all her hijas that brought me up, gently crafting rowboat after rowboat to aid me from any sinking ship, guiding my continued existence, answering cries for help, throwing a lifeline to a captain overboard, luchadores tag teaming, talking me off a ledge with no parachute, baiting me down from a tree with rope in hand, scraping melted soul off the bathroom floor, pouring purpose back into a fragmented vase that once held a bouquet of joy, amor, tranquilidad, and passion, sewing back up this gaping hole, lacing hope into every stitch, convos with elders, building with community, letting myself be loved, breathing life back into the dying flames of my lost passions. So that is the end to this one. And so kind of a disclaimer, if you know me, my poems are kind of storytelling style. So these are very short, and I challenge myself for this volume to kind of break them down into smaller pieces. Because I have a poem that lasted 6 minutes long. So I'm more of a storyteller, but you know, kind of in a poetic way. So this next one that I did is kind of a response to a relationship that I have with my best friend, and kind of highlighting you know, these colonized ideas of what relationships are and what they should be and what they could be and what they have to be. So it's called A Love Letter to, oh, and this one is translated from Totopec, which is the language I normally speak, into Spanish and English. So there's a lot of Spanish in here, so I can always translate later if you need to. If you need to, I can do for you. A love letter to my best friend. Hey, sé que no te tengo que decir, pero I'll tell you anyway. I love you. Ayer, hoy, siempre. Our connection isn't friendship or sisterhood. It's something more that people say they can't place. Anything beyond platonic standards must be romantic for them because they lack the vocabulary in their colonized dictionaries. Like it has to be dressed in bows and ribbons to be understood with their rigid definitions. Like my love for you can't be as essential or more important than any love for or from a romantic partner. That being queer or actively poly automatically muddles what we have to be. This society tries to colonize our love as if it has to fit in one of their boxes to be valid. You are my person, always and forever, above any them, above any her, above any him. Ayer, hoy, siempre, con todo mi amor. And that is the end to that one. So this last one is my most recent one. This is the first time I ever perform it. So I'm gonna try, I've tried different ways, so I'm gonna try this way for this one. So, a breakup that never happened. I told you dating wasn't a good idea. Hiking in the Texas summer, no bug spray, no water. But you had to have me, and I you. We feel too deeply, too strongly, too passionately. Ingredients for a time bomb, one filled with slashed paper mache hearts dripping in glitter. You'll never get the glitter out once it explodes, like dried blood or abuelita's mole off your favorite shirt. I can't ever feel like I'm a burden or too much. You can't just say these things, you have to show me. I need to feel it on my skin, sink into my soul, taking root, etching the blueprint for tonight's dreams and tomorrow's sorrows. What is validation without proof of existence? That's how I know it's true, that we're real, that I'm enough. Thank you. So today I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet for y'all, and those are the ends for that one. So if you'd like to see some of my longer ones or hear me speak some of my longer ones, reach out to me. I'll read them for you. I love reading my poetry to people. Thank you. It really is an honor to be here. And I was so nervous because so many amazing people have gone so far, and you had me clapping and screaming. And so y'all are so amazing. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, sweet girl. Those are awesome. Those are awesome. I love it when a poet gives you the background and says, this is a new poem. I've never read it before, but I'm going to do it now. That is so much fun. That is so good. Follow Sweet Girl on socials. give a shout out. It's good stuff. Our next performer is a queer disabled writer and Best of the Net finalist. Their chaplet, Do a Diagnosis, was published in 2019, and their work has appeared in Yes, Poetry 8 poems, Bridge 8, and St. Catherine Review, among others. Please give a warm welcome to Alexandra Corinth.
Hello, friends. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I don't know how I'm going to follow all those incredible people, so I'm not even going to try. So I have 3 poems, and I'm one of those unfortunate poets that likes to talk a little bit before and between when they read. So I'm going to try to speak a little slower than I naturally speak for the interpreter. So I'm sorry in advance if I talk too quickly. So this first poem was one that I wrote when I was coming back from Fredericksburg, Texas, which those of you that have been to Texas, maybe you've been to Fredericksburg. If you haven't been, it's in what those of us that unfortunately live in Texas, no, I'm just kidding, what those of us who live in Texas call the Hill Country. And these are just some of the thoughts that ran through my mind as I was driving home. So this is called Hypothetical. Pastures full of cattle stretch for miles along both sides of this 2-lane highway. I'm going home, but I'm not going home because every bed is temporary for the heart that beats inside my skin. And someday there will be land with my name in wrought iron above the gate. A portrait of rural domesticity and Western ideal I swore I'd never claim for myself. But tonight, I'll play host to the promises I made to another version of my life. The one that needs a 24-hour pharmacy less than a mile from my front door and the convenience of international travel. And maybe my dreams of country life are the kind I will always wake up from, but what is living without taking every consideration for who you might be if given the chance? If only you knew the right tactics. How do you know what you want? The cows continue their lowing as we leave the countryside behind. Emerge on a highway lined with strip malls and chain coffee shops, and I am tempted to ask for a break, if only to linger for a moment longer, to cling to the potential that could be. So I know it's kind of a running gag that poets don't know how to end their poems. So what I usually do when I'm performing in person is I do this weird little curtsy thing that doesn't translate as well on virtual. So I'm going to have to figure something else out for these virtual performances. You'd think I've had 2 years now to figure something out, but I haven't. I haven't figured out what that's going to look like yet. I just realized I did not do my visual description. So I am a white non-binary person with shoulder length curly brown hair. I am wearing a black headset with a microphone, and I have glasses that have rainbow plastic, and I'm wearing black and white striped jumper monstrosity. So apologies for not doing that earlier. This next poem is called Variants of Unknown Significance, Part 1. And so if you've ever done any sort of genetic testing, you may be familiar with this term. If you haven't, I'm very happy for you, and I'm sorry to maybe ruin your life. So partially due to my disabilities, I had to do genetic testing in 2019, and I have 3 variants of unknown significance. And what that means is that they know there's something not right with these genes, but they don't know what it is. And so they just have to say it's unknown significance, because it could just be, it's a variant, but it's harmless. Or it could be why everything is wrong. So, and one of mine, I was proud of this, which my now ex did not understand at the time. But one of my variants of unknown significance, it was the first time it had ever been seen in any testing up until that point. And I was very excited about that. And my ex was like, but isn't that terrible? Because then they don't know what it is. And I'm like, yeah, but like, that's kind of cool that they know about it now because of me. Anyway, so this is a series that I'm working on. And so this is part 1 of variants of unknown significance. 4 years ago, I was a shadow on patchwork concrete. New metal in my hand, learning to find my legs again, or maybe for the first time. Snapshots of my spine tucked into the useless front pockets of my dress pants. My middle name was Confusion, or Zebra, or Lost One, or Frustrated, or Drowning, or Beginning, or Prologue. The sun rose after I did, racing to rise above the horizon as I completed my commute, casting its glow across my back as I ordered my daily iced coffee and bagel before I knew I shouldn't eat gluten, reaching into my skin as I limped slowly from the parking lot to the main entrance through security. 4 years ago, I only knew the wrongness of me by instinct. The many names for my body as elusive as nagging flies, and was only just starting to see the reality inside me manifest beyond the rolling thunder of pain and subluxations and dysautonomia and hives like cartography of another world I'll never know, writing and rewriting itself along my arms, my chest, the tops of my thighs, because today my body decided to be allergic to itself. And all I could do is try to erase the work done by this mystery master artist with Benadryl and a gallon of water. But 4 years ago, the secrets of my shadow life were no longer secret, exposed by the shaft of aluminum swinging in tandem with my right side. Now I parade them around in my rolling float, perpetually on display, whether I want that or not. Now my existence is underscored by a marching band playing I'll Never Give You Up wherever I go. There are no more under the radar grocery runs unless I want to risk a fall. No more first dates where I don't out myself on 2 fronts. But 4 years ago, I was just beginning to see the pain live out loud. No longer the skeleton screaming to be let out, to be seen, to be forgiven. Weird curtsy. The last poem I have, I couldn't tell you. I wrote it during National Poetry Writing Month, and it exists, and so I'm sharing it with you. It's called Stomach Siege. Belly riot, belly rage. My stomach lay siege to the rest of this complex wasteland I call homestead. And I find myself again leashed to porcelain thrones, belly mutiny, belly anarchy. What knives did I swallow to make insurgents of my own organs? What books did I read that equipped them with the ways of internal self-immolation, belly harvest, belly nurture? The rumblings of rebellions will never quell, even when the spell has subsided. And what promises can I make that I will ever be able to keep to a body that, like the sea, is fathomless? Thank you again so much for having me. It is so wonderful to be here, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the evening.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexandra. Those were excellent. Again, if everyone else, please Follow Alexandra on her socials. Feel free to tip them if you're able to. And yeah, those are great. Our next performer is building his career as a writer and a scholar. He is a fifth-year graduate student in the Anthropology and Social Change doctoral program at California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco. His work includes Declaration of a Body of Love, Whispers of Crip Love, Shouts of Crip Revolution, and he's co-authored the poetry book Studies in Brotherly Love. He's currently writing a novel tentatively titled The Third Eye is Crying. He has performed with Sins Invalid and co-launched the podcast Black Disabled Men Talk. Also this year, he was a recipient of the Win Newhouse Award for his long career as a disabled artist. Please welcome Lateef McLeod.
Hi, I'm Lateef McLeod. For a physical description of myself, I am a Black man with cerebral palsy. I have a low-cut fade, a mustache, and a beard. I am wearing a gray sweater, and I'm in a permobile wheelchair. I have a Jamaican flag as my Zoom background. I am reading 2 poems today. The poems I am reading today are, I am too pretty for some ugly laws and the eyes of king. Content warning, the first poem deals with historical disabled oppression. I hope you enjoy. I am too pretty for some ugly laws. I am not supposed to be here, in this body here, speaking to you. My mere presence of erratic moving limbs and drooling smile used to be scrubbed off the public pavement. Ugly laws used to be on many US cities' law books, beginning in Chicago in 1867, stating that any person who is diseased, maimed, mutilated, or in any way deformed, so as to be an unsightly or disgusting object or an improper person to be allowed in or on the streets, highways, thoroughfares, or public places in the city, shall not therein or thereon expose himself to public view under the penalty of $1 for each offense. Any person who looked like me was deemed disgusting and was locked away from the eyes of the upstanding citizens. I am too pretty for some ugly laws, too smooth to be shut in, too smart and eclectic for any box you put me in. My swagger is too bold to be swept up in these public streets. You can stare at me all you want. No cop will bust in my head and carry me away to an institution. No doctor will diagnose me a helpless invalid with an incurable disease. No angry mob with clubs and torches will try to run me out of town. Whatever you do, my roots are rigid, like a 100-year-old tree. I will stay right here to glare at your ugly face too. The eyes of King. He stares at us with love and tenderness in his eyes, as if to silently implore us to live up to our better nature. He still calls down to us, reminds us in this dark time of dread that we can still sit at the table of the kingdom, black and white, and every other hue, holding hands singing, we shall overcome. But our countrymen do not sing anymore They cross their arms and shout at each other and hope that their bellows will prove their own righteousness. But no one hears their points over the din of their squabble. He spoke of his vision, his dream of an America where everyone has freedom and justice. As we match his stare now, do we have a good enough reason of why his dream cannot be fulfilled? Those are my poems. I hope you like them. Thank you.
Thank you, Latif. Those are awesome. Excellent. If you get a chance, check out one of his books. They're excellent. It's a pleasure to be able to share the stage with this guy. Our next poem, let me pull up my script. Our next poet is a disabled Sino-Jewish neuroinsurgent Aquarius homo trash bitch from Frisco. They like shit talk, porch sitting, leaf litter, and riffraff. You can find them trolling Yimbies on Twitter. Welcome to the virtual stage, Stevie Redword.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You're good.
It is basketball o'clock for my neighbors next door. So is it okay background noise wise for people, just access wise?
You're good, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Val, for organizing this event. It's been really lovely to be here. I have my camera off and my sort of avatar photo up, which is Ursula the Sea Witch from the animated Little Mermaid movie. She's a lavender, like half human, half people think she's an octopus, but technically she's a squid who has like a shock of white hair and bright red lipstick and a black dress that's strapless and a shell necklace, and she is based off of the drag queen Divine. So yeah, thank you all. It's been really lovely to hear everybody's poems. I want to shout out my friend Delilah, who's a wonderful poet who's here, who basically co-writes everything I write because she looks at everything and gives me feedback. Okay, and these are, I have two poems. They're both new. This first one is a poem. I'm just going to tell you, even though you're not supposed to do that with metaphor, but it's about cops, and it's called Fleur Poetica with Bad Seeds. So write about love if you want to. The wedding song, the newlyweds dancing to the beat of the police. Every step you take, I'll be watching you. And write about love, the wedding banquet, its whole roast pig, the apple in its jaws. Or write about flowers, the wedding bouquet, how you caught it between incisors, wetting against its thorns. Yes, write about flowers, about plucking the arrangement, petal by petal, picking them off, seed by bad seed. And when you do, ask not, she loves me not, but a more romantic interrogation, a dreamier wedding song. Which pig gets cooked? The loudest squealer. What hog gets caught? The greediest liar. This narc gets hooked, the biggest dealer. That cop gets shot, bloodthirsty vampire. Of course, I'm being unserious. Bad seed implies the existence of bad flower, bad fruit. When we could be talking rotted tree, invasive root. So right, about apple trees, let me get literal. Any good seed in the apple orchard will kill the average flower. As in sweetness flowing petal by petal, only when they die. This is my awkward curtsy moment. And then I have another one called In Frisco, 3 days after the IPCC report does not say too late. In Frisco, 3 days after the IPCC report does not say too late, Bernal Hill hits 85 degrees. When the doves begin to settle, I untuck my legs and leave my roost to trundle upslope, watch the loudest light go down. It's strange what you hear up here and what you don't. Not the quiet implosion of the woman under the buckeye dirtying her shins, but a bolt of laughter hurled from half a mile below. The heat's long sigh, relieved as the sky slides a wrinkled nightgown over its silvering dome. Sirens wailing their emergencies back and forth. The groundhog underfoot, rearranging its paws for sleep. And not the neighborhood dogs whistling, but the insomniac crows gossiping about their days, the weather, their thoughts on climate change. On the freeway, everyone hurries as fast as they can toward the rest of their lives. Their bodies shed beneath them like shadows under pressure of a midday sun, briefer than the light that cast them. Strange that in its years, the moon's never seen its own phases. Strange, we can look everyone in the eye, but ourselves and the sun doesn't know its own light. Along the map, lines run all through bodies of land and water, spilling shadows on the earth beneath them, like saplings under pressure of a waning sun, longer than the struggles that grew them. And calling this climate change is like calling this violence a country. What lies here, we're told to fold into. Calling this global warming is like calling the electrician when the stove sparks the whole house aflame. Another fire we believe we can live with. One more blaze we won't look in the eye. Everyone's hurtling toward tomorrow, forgetting forever isn't a place we can visit for a while. Awkward curtsy, that's the end. Thank you all.
Wow, thank you, Stevie. That was excellent.
Thanks so much, Val.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Please follow Stevie on socials. Tip them. Your voice had me in a trance, so I could have heard that all night long. Thank you. We are going to go over time, so I do understand that you need to leave, but we're going to continue on with this marvelous poetry. So just wanted to acknowledge that we're going over time. Poetry has no time, so we just kind of go on and on. Our next performer is a writer from Birmingham, Alabama. She is the author of the chapbooks Every Journal is a Plague Journal and Fire Sermons. They're the winner of the 2019 Keene Prize for Literature and Southern Indiana Review's 2018 Patricia Octus Award, and her work has been featured in Poetry Daily, 32 Poems, Shenandoah, Cimarron Review, Poetry Northwest, the Adroit Journal, and elsewhere. She is the poetry editor of Press Pause Press and holds degrees from Auburn University and an MFA from the University of Texas in Austin, and are currently a PhD candidate at the University of Oregon, studying the intersections of deafness, disability, and poetry. Please welcome Ray Hendricks.
Hey y'all, thank you for sticking around. I know some people had to go and it's late everywhere at this point, except maybe on the West Coast here. For an image description, I am a white, feminine presenting person, wearing a black sweater, and I have shoulder length, reddish brownish hair. The background is a white wall that is covered with too much art. Most of it crappy Polaroids that I have taken. So a lot of my poems that I'm going to read tonight, I'll be very brief, and they're mostly short as well. But they deal with sort of the multiple invisibilities that I live with. I am invisibly disabled, chronically ill, and I'm also bisexual and genderqueer, but in a feminine presenting body and in a heterosexual presenting relationship. So a lot of my life is being misunderstood. And I'm sure many of us here know what that feels like. So that's a preface to this work. The first poem is called Attention Deficit. Summer's lost butterfly sunning itself in a shard of late autumn light. Ladybugs decorating cool air with their fashionable frocks. Meemaw tried to buy me one like that, polka dotted red from the Sears catalog. I'm not that old, I'm just from the part of America no one remembers. As if between panes of glass, I am caught by what I can see of memory and the future. Whose great eyes looking at me, reluctant specimen squished in the microscope slide, the unwilling meat in a science sandwich, or the lettuce stuck between temporal teeth. Oh, what's the point? The metaphors are mixed and failing. I am bewildered. Have the ladybugs considered from which catalogs they'll procure their winter coats? Does the butterfly know? Oh, what's the point? Bewildered, 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 and wilder. Alas, I am astray. I am gone in the ocean thicketed wilds of language. Meaning? What meaning? I am Telemachus in the wine dark sea. I am Calypso's longing. Yes, that Telemachus. No, not that Calypso. My desire is to be a goddess-shaped consortium of crabs, kissed by La Belle Dame Sans Merci in an elfin grot. Wilder, bewildered, bemused, on instead of in an urn, multitudes, multitudes. Or maybe a ladybug, a butterfly, this butterfly, warm and unaware of winter. Oh God, this butterfly Telemachus. Oh goddamn, goddamn sans merci. Oh God, bedevil me, beguile me, bewilder me of knowing I am I. That poem was the result of leaning into ADHD and OCD compulsions and obsessions and just letting it flow. And since Val mentioned that they like to hear new work, I've never read that poem out loud before, so fun stuff. This next poem is called Fatigue. Some days the tea bags are so heavy, black holes pulling me towards the bottom of my mug. The mug itself a sword in the stone of my hand I cannot lift. I am not made of magic. My legend is only the worn trail in the carpet from bed to kitchen to couch. I am so easy like this to follow, my sleepy head nodding towards oblivion tied to a string, the tea gone cold before I gather the strength to drink it. I am so easy like this to dissolve, like honey in hot water, so easy like this to disappear. This next poem is called Remission Potential, or the difference between ceramics, us, and the moon is that you can't break the moon. I am bad at deciding on titles, so I gave this one too. Let's go dancing beneath a fictional moon. I'm tired of looking up at this one, so relentlessly real. We'll make it ourselves, out of styrofoam cups sliced at the middle, suspended from something with string, or the last remaining plate of the rose printed dinnerware set my late grandmother said she wanted buried with her. Who says the moon must be white? Everything's better with flowers. Like you, tonight, decked out in printed black-eyed Susans, that dress I love. Let's call it heaven. Your skirt spun out above me, the new sky on which I'll paint my stars. Don't worry about the broken glass and blood. I'll wash your hair. We'll spend all day tomorrow getting clean. And this final poem is the result of, I'm invisibly disabled in a lot of ways, including very, very severe food allergies. And so I pre-board on airplanes, and inevitably someone asks me, what are you doing in this line? This is for disabled people. You don't belong here. And I have to explain everything all over again, that if I touch some peanut dust, I might die. So it's a whole thing, which again, I am sure very many of us are used to, the constant question that is our existence. So this poem, this last poem is more of a rant, but it's called Explain Yourself. What's wrong with you? How did you get this way? You look fine to me. You do. Is it genetic? Do your parents have it? Do your parents have to have it first? I hope my baby doesn't have what you have. I want my baby to have a good life. You know what I mean. I want her life to be easy. Isn't your life hard? Wouldn't you rather be normal? You look normal. Are you sure you're not faking it? For sympathy, attention, better boarding zones on airplanes, better seating on the bus. Are you sure? So what happens if I do this? Does it hurt? What happens if you do this? Does it always hurt? I wouldn't want to live like that. Aren't you miserable? Are they looking for a cure? How are you not miserable? I lost my place. Are you happy? Really, are you happy? I don't think I could be happy. You're not really happy, are you? If there was a cure, would you take it? Do you still have friends? They must be so patient. You're lucky to have such good friends. I bet you'd take the cure. If I were you, I'd take it. I don't want to miss out on my life. Are you sure it's not genetic? God, I hope my baby's normal. Can you still go to the movies? Can you still go out to eat? Can you still go out? Can you? Can you? No, really, are you happy? Don't get upset. You don't have to be rude. I'm just asking you a question. Thank you so much. That is the last poem. It's in my chat book if anyone is interested, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ray. I love that last poem. I literally read it out loud when you sent it. I love ranting, so that's an awesome one. Thank you. Yes, and check out Ray's chat books. I actually have one, and it's awesome. So our final performer is a polio survivor, disability activist, feminist, poet, writer, and artist whose creative expression is one of the tools and weapons of her activism. She believes that art itself can narrate the story of our collective struggle. Her work includes various genres of art, ranging from published written collections of rebellious poetic storytelling to passionate spoken word and sarcastic illustrations of disability-themed cartoons aimed at calling out ableism. In the artistic world, she is known as the Goddess on Wheels. Please welcome Maria Palacios.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor and a joy to be here. And honestly, I am really kind of like nervous and jittery having to follow so much talent. Everybody has been so amazing. I have the pleasure of closing with a long poem and a quick description of myself. I am an ageless Latina with long dark hair and brown eyes. And I am wearing I don't know what color this is, beige knitted sweater. And my background is just a very boring beige bed headboard. I'm sitting on the bed, although I'm a wheelchair user. The poem that I'm going to be reading to you today is called The Other Side of Ableism. I am obsessed with ableism. This poem talks about what happens when we internalize it. So the other side of ableism. Internalized ableism is believing the lies we have been told about our bodies, believing that nobody will love us or want us, believing we are damaged and broken because others have said we are. Internalized ableism is negating ourselves the right to say no, denying ourselves the right to say yes, or saying yes when we should say no, or saying no when we should say yes, because we've been made afraid to trust ourselves. Internalized ableism is the thick extra layer of skin we grow in order to not be wounded by the voices that say we're imperfect and worthless and undesirable. It is staying silent to comments made without thinking or made while thinking it's okay because we believe them too. Internalized ableism is allowing others to define our truths and expecting our bodies or explaining our bodies as an apology, as a mistake. It is that little voice inside our heads negating things we want to yell out but can't because our inner cripple is not yet liberated. Internalized ableism is focusing on walking again or seeing again or being able-bodied again while throwing away a perfectly livable life because we've been led to believe our lives as disabled people have no worth unless they're attached to an able-bodied goal or an able-bodied dream. Internalized ableism is refusing to see our lives as lovable and powerful and beautiful and painting our disabled lives with an able-bodied brush. Internalized ableism is being in a rush to prove ourselves as non-disabled and judging those whose disabilities can't be as well disguised or whose bodies can't wear the outfits of normality disabled people must wear in order to fit in. It is judging other disabled people for not working or for not living the able-bodied lives that push us to try to be normal. Believing that if we can work, every disabled person can work. If we can drive, every disabled person can drive. Internalized ableism is wearing our invented able-bodied privilege as a badge of inspiration while justifying the oppression of others like us and enjoying the freedom given to us by the advocacy of Crips who carry the burden of our shame. Internalized ableism is not recognizing that independence is something many disabled people are still fighting for, or not recognizing when our rights are being wronged because deep down we are convinced others know better about what's good for us. Internalized ableism is not being outraged about the invasion of our disabled lives, allowing able-bodied people to make choices for us, choices we are capable of making ourselves, choices we have the right to make. Internalized ableism is believing that our bodies are incapable of pleasure, allowing others to define how we should define pleasure because many people believe broken bodies don't feel, broken bodies don't give, broken minds don't understand love, intimacy, sensuality. Internalized ableism is denying our own sexuality or turning able-bodied lovers into heroes for sleeping with us because sex with a disabled person is some sort of sacrifice, something that deserves respect or an amen because sex with a cripple is going to earn you some heaven brownie points, even at the risk of sin. Internalized ableism is body shaming, crip shaming, using disability as a bad word, using disability as a double-edged sword that cuts deep into our own fears. Internalized ableism is holding back the tears that would allow us to heal, accepting other people's definition of beauty, and referring to our bodies in a language not reflective of love. It is not knowing how to love our differences, not recognizing our uniqueness as the one thing that makes us whole, while believing that wholeness must always equal able-bodiedness, must always mean going back to pre-disabled form because that's the norm and nothing else will do. Otherwise, we have no value, no purpose, no reason to live. Internalized ableism is seeing disability as something we always have to overcome. It is becoming passive witnesses to the struggles of others like us, or saying that we've never been oppressed while saying those people, even though we're one of them. Internalized ableism is labeling each other, putting each other down, segregating ourselves into little groups that further label us, as we fail to recognize that in the end, we really are fighting the same war. Internalized ableism is pretending that the hierarchy of self-actualization is applicable to Crips, forgetting that in the Crip hierarchy of actualization, access and inclusion are at the very base of everything. Otherwise, we cannot actualize ourselves no matter how hard we may try. Internalized ableism is ignoring all that and judging other disabled people for not forcing themselves into outfits of social acceptance, not tailored for disabled bodies. Internalized ableism is belief that we have to wear them anyway, because that way others can see us as one of them, but only in our eyes, because disability doesn't lie. Our Crip truths are always louder than whatever words we use to disguise ourselves in the non-disabled world. Internalized ableism is erroneously believing that the non-disabled world is the only world that matters. It is sharing our stories from a position of pity instead of power, and believing that we have no power and no voice. Internalized ableism is accepting the myth that if we need help, we are helpless. That if we can't move our bodies, we need somebody to live our lives for us. Accepting the lie that others know more than we do about how we feel, even though we're the only ones who have to exist in our disabled bodies. Internalized ableism is feeding the lies that portray our lives as pathetic and empty of joy, purposeless and void of any value and any hope, believing the shit we have been fed and turning away from the struggles of others because we don't want to see ourselves there. Internalized ableism is believing that our mobility aids imprison us, calling ourselves wheelchair-bound, handicapped, and falling for the inspiration crap that tells the world we are pitiful, needy, vulnerable, and helpless instead of the human potential that lives within all of us. Internalized ableism is accepting the medical model as the model that defines our lives, surrendering to the illusion that inclusion is something that does not apply to us or something that we do not deserve. Internalized ableism is not making our access needs known because they have been known to inconvenience others. So instead we accept half-ass access or none at all, and do so while expressing gratitude as if our rights were half-ass rights, as if our needs were inferior to the needs of others. Internalized ableism is letting other people raise our kids because we've been convinced that we don't have what it takes to be parents. It is believing disabled people should not be parents, or that disabled children should not be born, thinking that disability always is the worst possible outcome, the worst possible consequence, the most painful punishment, something we can wish on anyone. Internalized ableism is letting religious fanatics pray, P-R-E-Y, over us, and use our differences as a scare tactic to explain their version of God as a punishing God, as a vengeful God. Internalized ableism is hiding our differences as much as we can, concealing our scars, covering our imperfections, not being able to say disability pride with pride, not feeling offended by the use of the word Crip by non-Crips, allowing others to choose how to refer to us and what language to use when doing so. Internalized ableism is only sharing able-bodied pictures of ourselves, although we've been disabled for a while. Not wanting to be friends with other disabled people, reminding ourselves again that we're not one of them, and believing that those people do have problems, but they're not our problems to worry about because, well, you know, as long as we internalize our fears, we can convince ourselves they won't come true and live in our own very own disabled-bodied world when we can hide our disabled side until the day when hopefully we realize that we have always been whole, that we have always been worthy, and we are finally able to see ourselves in the mirror of others whose bodies look like ours, whose lives reflect our lives, and find beauty and hope and human potential instead of brokenness and fear and wasted humanity. For only when we recognize each other's value will our own humanity make itself evident to ourselves and to the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. That was awesome. Wow, what a way to end the show, huh? That was great. Thank you, Maria. Quick thank yous. I know we're running, well, we ran out of time. Thank you to all the performers who shared their work here for everyone. That's not an easy thing to do, and I just want to express my appreciation for them. Thank you, Arts Park Texas and Coalition of Texas with Disabilities for their support, providing ASL interpreter, card captioning. Thank you for our ASL interpreters. And finally, thank you all for being here and supporting this space. I'm going to end on a poem. And then after I end, if you want to unmute and holler all the goodness that you saw today, feel free. This poem is called A Breath is a Battle Cry, and I'll let it speak for itself. We breathe, we gasp, we inhale the gas of isolation, segregation, alienation, aliens in a nation not created for us, not created by us, about us without us. Exhale. We breathe, we gasp, we reach and grasp for shelter amidst the war, silence within the storm, disregarded by society who so wishes to return to the norm. The norm was not kind to folks like me. Today is not kind to folks like me. Tomorrow, will they remind themselves of folks like me? Exhale. We breathe, we gasp, we take in fast every instance of hatred, every instance that deems us invalid, every instance of injustice. We take in fast because death by 1,000 cuts is nothing compared to death by 1,000 lifetimes of cuts. Exhale. We breathe, we gasp, we breathe one last breath of resistance against able supremacy. We breathe one last breath of fuck you to white supremacy. We breathe one last breath of our collective middle fingers to every privilege that deems us unworthy. Remember, worthy we are. Exhale. Breathe, and if you must curse the God who created you, breathe. And if you must cry rivers that carry you to sea, breathe. And if you must scream into the dark and empty, breathe. And if you must leave, know that your beautifully broken breaths were radical acts of defiance, magical vapors of bold irreverence, and lyrical sounds of angelic excellence. Breathe, gasp, exhale. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey, Val, before we wrap up, Charisse is here. Could we, I feel like there is energy for one more poem.
Yes. Let me pull up the script.
Yeah.
And while you're doing it, I want to say thank you to you, Val, for coming to us and saying, hey, how about we do this together? And I am thrilled to be here and to be in the presence of such wonderful magic and power.
Thank you, Miss Corey.
Thank you for making it happen.
Thank you, friend. All right, well, let me give this introduction. Awesome. I didn't want this to end anyway. Okay, our next artist is a social and Black Lives Matter activist, musician, and transformative grassroots educational leader who motivates students in higher ed. She's a graduate from William Patterson University with degrees in business and communication. She admires strong political leaders like Sister Souljah and Alicia Garza and Angela Davis. As a teenager, she was part of Newark's singer group Shades of Essence, which opened up for the Fugees and Naughty by Nature. For all you young folks, you're gonna have to Google that. She continues to produce music and manage independent artists and educates them about intellectual property. In 2018, she created an anthem titled United We Stand. She's the founder of the Hidden Disabilities Alliance at Rowan University and is currently working on a documentary called Beyond Black Lives Matter 2 or Beyond Black Lives Matter Second Chances, which will be released next year. Let's give a warm welcome to Charisse Cottrell.
First, I want to say thank you guys. My time is off because I'm on the East Coast. So I thought it was 3 hours later. Maybe I was wrong on that. I'm sorry. But my poem is called The Voices of Black Women Echo in America. Hear the echoes of Black women, like the echoes of the morning bird. You know it's there, but you never go near. We are different shapes, colors, strength, filled with care. We are survivors of our ancestors. Before you decided to celebrate 1619, you liked our bodies, hair, and wanted our strength, but yet you fear courage. So you try to intimidate. The echoes in America of Black women who were forced to the master's bedroom, never seen as the victim, only as the master's prostitute. We have pride without shame, humility with humanity. Stop trying to humble me. Because this is your white democracy, don't try to silence the echoes of Black women in our society, which reflects our intersectionality. The images of Black women stand out remarkably, filled with admiration when you ask, "Can I touch your hair?" Strong and confident when you want your mirror to look like mine. No implants, BBLs, BBTs, or lip injections can make your mirror look like mine. The mirror shines so bright when I don't let you knock me down. The mirror of oppression stands strong, but the reflection of who we are will never be wrong.
Thank you, Sharice. Thank you very much. I'm glad you were able to make it. Now, this is the end. So, again, if you want to unmute and shout out wonderful things, feel free. Thank you again for being here. I think we're going to do this again, right, Laura? So,
I think we're gonna have to.
I think we're
Yes,
gonna have to,
indeedy.
yeah, so keep an eye out for future Thunder and Lightning events. Again, thank you for all the performers. Thank you for everyone that was here. I bid you adieu.